Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be doing another round of taking a look through your submitted suggestions. Now, I love doing this series because what we'll do is every once in a while we'll go through just a bunch of suggestions. We'll give them a check or an X, or maybe abstain because there just isn't enough information for us to feel confident voting one way or the other. But we'll, as we talk through each suggestion, we read everyone aloud, I'll also give you my thoughts and my opinions on them as well. So, let's go ahead and start off and see what the good, bad, and the ugly is today. Wink, wink. Here we go. So we got suggestion from Bopham. Bring back barb chaining from Rockwood Darklings. The low-level Darklings always find their way into my AoE, wasting my CP. I just went negative 768 CP, just trying to clear Acolytes because Darklings jumped into the AoE every single one. It's frustrating. Interesting. I will say this. I've always liked the idea of being able to barb chain, which basically means that if you are, I'll give an example. If you have an AoE, let's say you have an AoE hero or an AoE legion, and you are attacking, in this case we'll use CoD, a Darkling, and every time that hero pops their active, an AoE hits. But let's say that what you do is you aggro pull that Darkling. So you're attacking a Darkling, but then you move a little bit and the Darkling follows you, but you're moving in the direction of going to another Darkling, right? So you position your legion or your hero in the direction of where the next active skill pops off, right before the Darkling that you're pulling dies. It will activate the skill and it'll hit the Darkling you're pulling plus the one that you've now moved in front of, as an example. And then once the one that you pulled dies, you automatically start attacking the next one, but it doesn't consume any CP or, in that case, action points. So I like the idea of that, but let me explain why I like the idea of that specifically. Is because this is a very free-to-play mechanic. The reason I say it's a very free-to-play mechanic is because it takes a long time to do, right? Yes, can you get ahead, and could you arguably barb chain the whole day and get so much out of it? You could. But it takes time because you'd have to go out there. You have to look for certain spots where, in this case, Darklings are being summoned, or if you're able to summon them en masse somehow in a close area, or you just have to look for groups, and then you attack one, you pull it to the next one, you keep attacking until it then hits the one that you just went next to, and then you repeat and you do the same thing, right? So you're constantly keeping the attack up as long as you can. Now, again, bear in mind, anyone can do this, but it takes a lot of time. And as we know, typically if you're a high mid spender, sometimes it just means that you may not have a lot of time to be spending in-game, right? Because if you make, let's say, a decent amount of money, you probably have work, whether you work from home or you have a 9-to-5 job that you go to. And so the idea has kind of always been around, well, free-to-play, if they have more time available, which usually on average they do, something like this could benefit them. So I like the idea of allowing for your Legion to do something like that, where when it hits, it doesn't consume. But again, I'd like for this suggestion to be worded in a way that explains that, and this does not do that, right? This is not as descriptive and doesn't really detail out how it should be. So for that, I'm going to abstain, but I like the idea. Just resubmit and make it look cleaner, pimpin'. Thank you. Number 2, or the next one, suggestion from Blake Exact. Give engineers EXP. Why would you not give them EXP? Because it would make a certain feel obliged to do them. That's a dumb reason because this is an alliance game, so building towers should be mandatory. If you don't participate in building, you don't deserve to be at a decent alliance. Rough. So please give us EXP for engineers. So, first off, I like the idea of giving EXP for engineers. This is something that we've talked about as well before. However, once again, the way that this is worded, first, doesn't come across great. Comes across aggressive and almost rude, if you will. And 2, it's just not formatted well enough to really present itself as what I would consider to be a quality suggestion. I like the idea, but if you want my vote on this, this has to be cleaned up a little bit, right? So let's move on. For Hawks, increase the max elixir cap to 8 hours instead of 6 hours. Right now, if your healing capacity is 240,000, your max elixir is 60,000. That's 6 hours worth of healing. It would be better if it's 8 hours. So the same example of 240,000, you would have cap of 80,000 max load. That way people can sleep normally and not be burned out as much during war, which makes people quit the game. So I'm going to say this is formatted, and the way that it's presented is actually a little better because we have a little bit of math that goes into this. This makes sense to me. Right, this was explained in a very simplistic way where it basically told you, like, this is what the current max is, this is what we'd like for it to be, and this is why we'd like for it to be that. So because even though I would like for this to be formatted more, where this is the way it currently works, this is what we'd like for it to be, and this is why we'd like for it to be that, then you gave your description, I would have appreciated that. However, this is at least at bare minimum raw for me. So you're going to get my vote because, again, I like the way this was explained, and it logically makes sense if you're averaging kind of an 8-hour sleep cycle, right? So I'm actually all for that. Mr. Brown, okay, change the auto talents feature to just highlight the talents used in previous season and let the players to assign them as they see fit. So the reason I'm not going to... So let me talk about the auto talents for a sec. The way that it really should be is that the way the system should work is each season the talents reset. Then you can go in and pre-select your talent map for each hero. And then you can lock that in if you want or change it at any point in time. But as long as it's locked in, you just don't have to worry about it. So as the hero levels up, it'll just automatically go. And if you do that each season, it'll allow for you to road map out your talents. Right, as an example. So something like that for me is really what I would like for it to be because I think that's more flexible. And it doesn't really punish anyone that hard because you can always go in and change it anytime you want. It needs to be that. It needs to be fluid. So just for that, I'm not going to vote yes or no on this because I just think it should be worded a little bit differently. Mick Mac Muck. It would be an improvement if we could see the upgrade costs for buildings while they are producing. This applies to College of Order, etc. troop trainers. It would also be good to have the ability to see our reinforcements when the Alliance Center is upgraded instead of asking someone else to check for us. Oh, I see. So basically what they're saying is while you're upgrading, you just can't re-click on it to go look at info stuff. So I'm actually for this, right? I think that this is a little bit of a quality of life update. Again, I would have maybe liked for this to be explained a little bit more clearly, but I understand it well enough, so you get my vote, because again, it makes sense to me. After completing 60 pet captures, now I have to capture 70 in my main questline. Stop this madness. So this is my thing on the war pets. And again, I haven't even really done a video on this. I eventually will, where I talk about them. But my thing for main quest lines, I'm almost wondering if it's even needed to have war pets in the main quest line. And I say that because if you're thinking about making a brand new account, your first thought isn't going to be, oh, well, I need to go and start hunting war pets. No. You're going to look at it very similarly to how people viewed gear. I think it was gear, or maybe it was called equipment, in Infinity Kingdom, where you focused on leveling your heroes, maxing their skills out, doing I think some other things then their skills, and then I think it was called artifacts, and then eventually you got to artifacts. In this game, you're focusing on your heroes, your artifacts, and then you can make an argument for your war pets, right? That's the way that it visually looks to me as far as order of priority. What this means is that new players are not going to be immediately focusing on war pets. So to that, my thing would be either put war pets at the very end of the timeline, of the main storyline timeline, or make them side quests. So, again, I'm not going to vote on this because this isn't providing a solution, right? Remember, when we submit suggestions, we need to have, right, what's the situation, how is it impacting, and then what is our solution, right? You got to have 3 parts there to what you're posting, or at least it covers it in whatever you're saying. Next one here is golden tokens are so expensive, rare. It really sucks when you have extra for a commander and you can't do anything with them. Perhaps if your commander is awakened, the extras turn into generic. That would be the nicest, most customer service-based way to do it. But even a trade-in system where you can trade them in for currency of some sort. Have extra for a commander. So yeah, I mean, I know you can trade in. Which is interesting because I know I've traded in my, and I wonder if they're just talking about specific tokens here, because I've gone in and traded in my epic hero tokens, and then I ended up getting some more gold keys out of it. So I guess I'm curious here, because to me, with the legendaries, I guess I'd have to look. Part of me feels like I should be able to trade in my legendaries. You know what? While we're going to come back to this, I'm going to load my game up real quick so I can confirm. But part of me is feeling like maybe that isn't entirely accurate for what they're saying there. Anyways, we'll take a look at it. We'll come back once I get a view. And again, we'd love to hear what you guys think on that one. Let's go to suggestion from Tiwa. We need conflict early in season 2. I understand you don't want people to quit, but I swear more people quit of boredom. This is a war game. I don't want Farmville for 4 weeks. I'm protect the gates. I'm protect the gates. Okay, so I could really talk a lot here about this, but what I will say is that is what they're asking for is a lot more. I don't want to say complicated, but oh wow, look at that! You're right. I can only scrap epic hero tokens. See, that's the thing. I never really paid attention. In that case, do it. You get my upvote. So the thing about season 2, the thing about attacking early is, and again, part of me, I wonder if this Tiwa player is someone who spends, right? Because most of the time I typically hear, I usually on average hear this type of response from people that are more mid to heavy spenders, right? People that are in positions where they're already kind of closer to endgame in their accounts. It doesn't mean that players before that, or people that are kind of in that free-to-play light spend realm, may not have the same similar mindset, but it's usually a higher percentage when you have people that are already closer to endgame content, because at that point, what do they have left to do? Fight. So what I will say on this, to state something briefly, because I don't want to spend too much time on it, is the challenge with allowing for fighting to happen in yeah, I'm going to have to say this in 2 parts. So the challenge with allowing for fighting to happen in Zone 1 is that you're doing more of a disservice to the player base than you actually think you are. Yes, in truth, it is. Some people can quit from that. Some people can just become demotivated. They can become desensitized to or disengaged from actually wanting to participate. Because you have to think about it like this: if you're a free-to-play light spend, which makes up the majority of a kingdom's player base, and you allow for fighting to happen, and you allow for people to go into other adjacent Zone 1s during Zone 1, before Zone 2 and Zone 3 opens, you could essentially crush entire zones. And at the same time, you could demotivate players from participating further in the season, right? Because nobody wants to feel like they can't develop and can't progress their account. So having some type of safety net, but then allowing and giving people the option. This is important. You have to give people the option to fight. Now, there is an asterisk here, right? If you think about how Rock has done it for a while, which is where they've had Zone 1s be safe zones, right, for that designated kingdom. So only players from that kingdom are in that starting zone. And then they allow for you to go out into Zone 2, Zone 3. You can fight in the neutral zones as well. And then eventually, towards the end of the season, they'll open up the starting Zone 1s. But what you have to understand is the biggest difference here between something like Rock, Infinity Kingdom, some other games, and CoD is you don't have a home kingdom. So you have to think about it like you're basically in prison. You're like in the prison courtyard with Gen Pop for the entire season. Right? There's no save zone for you to go to. And yes, you may think of it as, oh, well, this is a war game, but okay, you may view it as a war game, and I'm saying this generally, not to this person in particular, is that not everyone views it that way, right? Sure, people may understand that there's war elements to the game, but this isn't a 24/7 free-for-all type of game. And if you want the easiest answer to that, go and look at Kingdoms. Because I can guarantee you without a doubt in my mind, because I have accounts in every kingdom, you are not seeing 24/7 just free-for-all Hunger Games going on in every single kingdom. And the reason why is because the majority of players and or alliances or leaderships in those kingdoms understand that that is negatively impactful towards the player base and retaining as much activity as possible in a kingdom if you do something like that. This is why, if you do it in a way where you have a safety area and then you allow for the majority of the map to be PvP or have the opportunity for PvP, then that's great, right? Whether you're opening up in increments from Zone 2 to Zone 3, Zone 4, etc., right, then that really is the best way to do it. That's the bread and butter. The thing that I feel is probably more suited to what this person's trying to say is just reduce the amount of time that it takes for like the first gates to open, right? So an example would be if you end up coming out with a designated Zone 1 for kingdoms, you say, right, we'll have it be 5 or 7 days, like 5 or 7 days, and then you'll have the neutral Zone 1s open where you guys can fight, right? Because that's long enough for alliances to kind of build their forts, their flags, and kind of fill out the starting Zone 1 area or get close to filling it out. And then you open that up. And then you say a couple days after that, we'll open up Zone 1, right? Or, sorry, we'll open up Zone 2, right? So you can attack the level 1 passes and then start advancing into Zone 2 as an example. Those are things that I think would allow just understanding the timeline or how long the length of time before you get to a certain thing. I think that's a better approach rather than allowing for everyone to die. Because again, I'll give you an example from Infinity Kingdom, right? This is one of the things that the community, people that really understood the game, just did not like, myself included, which was that when their KVK started, Zone 1s would open first. So what you were having happen, which was basically within the first 2 weeks of a KVK, is it was over. And you had 1 or 2 kingdoms that just killed everything, right? They killed all the players, attacked everyone, and they took control over every Zone 1 region. And what was supposed to be a 70, 75-day KVK season, a fun and enjoyment for as many players as possible, quickly became fun and enjoyment for 1 to 2 kingdoms worth of players. And, you have 8 kingdoms going in, that's 6 to 7 kingdoms worth of players that are now not able to enjoy KVK at all, and they have to go back to the home kingdom. That's just not fun. So you have to also think about it from the average player's perspective, right, where it isn't just a want, but it kind of has to be more of a need, right? And this just comes off as more of a want. So again, and I'm only giving a very brief explanation here. I could deep dive on this a lot more, but I'm going to actually give this a no, as it would be so bad for the game beyond all belief. Right now, if you wanted to have like a dedicated kingdom where people could just go and like fight 24/7 like a server 5 in Infinity Kingdom, I'm all for that. Right, let me know how long you last, because they lasted over a year of nonstop 24/7 war, and it was the most magnificent thing I think I've ever seen in kind of one-off kingdoms in the genre thus far. But now let's get to the next one. Talks about allow extra legendary heads to be converted into free heads for Hero Season. After Heroes Awakened. I'm actually okay with this to an extent. Or if you want to say like specific heads, like you need 2 of them to convert to 1 free, something like that. But I'm okay with this at face value too. Create mage staff. You can shoot stuff. Please imagine a mage staff. Okay, let's continue. Free water. The mute has been long enough. And we'll learn this lesson. Adam, give us a building talent. Bit like Earth's Grace, but for building so we can level up engineers. A building talent. Yeah. So I need a little bit more detail here on what you mean. Just like even if it's an example of like 1 talent, just so everyone has a good understanding. Put the pet quest out of the main quest is beyond annoying, and a button for collecting supplies. I mean, yeah, this is something. Yeah. That'd be great. The only reason I would upvote this, but the whole thing and add a button for collecting supplies, this is also just needs to be a little more detailed. Kato, still waiting for claim all button for alliance chests. This is pretty straightforward. I'll go on wait, hang on, I'm confused because there is, oh, you mean on the spender chests. Okay, got to be specific, because there is one on, and I guess that's what they mean is on those chests, but I a little bit more detail here. I understand what they mean, but would still like some detail where you're being specific and saying for people that make purchases would love a claim all button for those chests, right? Polynics, there is too much time between action in this game. The previous season, Dragon was taken a month ago. Besides 24 hours of fighting in Zone 1 for some alliances, there was no PvP until Zone 3. There is not enough PvE content to make up for the lack of consistent PvP. Please don't extend the ceasefire time. So this, please don't extend the ceasefire time. Reduce the amount of zones without PvP. So Challenge is that there's just quite a few points here. So what I will say is that this is actually a larger issue, and it actually starts even before where Polynice is talking about. It actually starts with, one, how kingdoms are populated, and then how they're dealing with low population kingdoms. Right, that's really kind of the root of it that would actually solve for a lot of what Polynice and others, I'm sure, are seeing or have seen. And again, I don't want to take too much time because I'm trying to get through as many suggestions as we can within our kind of 20 to 30 minute window. But this is a larger issue. I'll probably talk about it in another video. But there actually is a solution to this, and it's not as difficult as you might think. Let's go to this one. Bring back forged artifact keys to the weekly exchange menu for the entire duration of the season. I'm going to be honest, I am somewhat okay with this, but weekly exchange. I guess I am somewhat okay with it. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on that one. I don't feel that as being too incredibly impactful. With the random slot assignments of pet skills, the whales just have to spend more. Mid-low spenders, better to ignore the skill system altogether. That is what we've been hearing from some people. Make possible the generic legendary epic ascension emblems. Not only make ascension of an artifact possible, but also provide the possibility of leveling up the ability of a chosen artifact. They aren't that easy to obtain, and at least you will get more control if you want to focus a particular artifact. Okay. I don't necessarily think I'm against this, per se. And it kind of makes sense to me. I'd love to know what you guys think. I'm going to abstain from this because I just feel like I may not be as specifically in the intricacies knowledge versed in the detail there. But I don't see this as being impactful. Let me know what you guys think on that one. I guess for now, I'm going to give this a check. Make the spin wheel ticket vouchers cheaper. I'm sure. Which again, I'm not saying it like that. Like, oh yeah, you spend, so make it cheaper for you to get them, or with the gems too as well. But yeah, I guess I need to detail which ones do you mean making cheaper. Artifacts. Please consider this: exchange X amount of legendary artifacts and pick one legendary artifact. I used to buy all artifacts keys in VIP shop every week, but every pop-up bundle that has artifact keys max draw season artifact rewards. I played through season 1, 1+, and now 2. My mage is still using Magic Bomb. I really don't need 10 Karate Wrath. I actually don't mind this. I get it. It kind of makes sense to me. So, auto scrap. Allow people to choose what items get auto scrapped, either a checkbox. Ooh, this is cool. I like this idea. So you can kind of custom select your auto scrap. Not bad. I love it. I'm playing CoD since first season. Current season 2 is the most boring of them all. After previous season, we were able to fight other players at zone 1.5 starting second week of the season. At season 2, we have to wait half of the season until zone 3. Unlocks doing nothing because all zone 1 and 2 are semi-protected. I know you did that to help small alliances grow, but it doesn't work, all of them being wiped right after your 2-day protection expired. I mean, Kurosawa has a point. This is something that we've talked about as well. It's nice and refreshing to hear other people bring this up because they understand as well. Now we have to wait more than a month to have a chance to fight other players. Since all of us are trapped in our starting zones, a lot of our players are getting bored of the game because they have nothing to do. So, and this is the challenge, right? Is, if you have, let's say you have a stronger alliance versus a weaker alliance in another zone, right? Or if you have a group of spenders versus non-spenders, and again, they want to go and attack, they want to go in PvP. The challenge here is trying to design the map in a way that will, along with making sure kingdoms are healthy, keyword healthy and active enough, if I didn't say it louder, or loud enough, I probably should again, to the point of where you can encourage fighting to happen. The way that, and what Kurosawa is posting and what I've talked about, this is such a bigger issue than I think people really realize. This really, once again, as I mentioned, it goes right back to the two most important things, which is 1, how are kingdoms populated? 2, when is how they designate the cutoff for when kingdoms are stop getting populated and the next kingdom comes out. And then 3, how they're dealing and addressing with low population kingdoms. These are probably the 3 biggest factors that actually impact into this outside of map design. And yeah, so this is a bigger issue. Again, this needs to be, like, the suggestion itself, I think, just needs to be a little bit more thought of. But I understand where they're coming from, as I do tend to agree. I just wouldn't vote on the suggestion based on how it's worded. Increase Chakcha's third and fourth skills bonuses from 7 to 15%. Totally not because they like numbers that are divisible by 5. Rage Samurai. That's funny. That is funny. I'm gonna have to think about that one. Let's see real quick. Chakcha's third and fourth skill. Why am I forgetting this? So let's go. Chakcha and third skill is defense bonus 7%, increases defense of Chakcha's lead by 7%. Okay. And fourth skills increases HP of Chakcha's legion by 2%, automatically heals the legions lightly wounded. So yeah. You know, I actually would be okay with Chakcha getting a little bit of a buff to the third and fourth skill. This actually kind of makes a little sense to me. So I don't know if I want to say more than double. I maybe would be cool with it going to like maybe 10 or 12% as an example. I'd love to hear what you guys think on this one. Just take the game off the App Store. It's not worth anything anyways. Yo, Rob, that's aggressive. Reduce the odds of crap rewards like silver keys and alliance points from the chest you get from buying packs. This needs to be a little bit more thought of, right? It's more of what's the challenge, right? What's the challenge of the issue? What would you like to see, and why would you like to see it? Rework Ordo's third skill, make a mana gem gathering hero. They want a gem gathering hero. Intense. So with his identity crisis, I'm actually okay with this, minus the gem. It's the only reason I'm not going to vote for this because it has the gem gathering thing in there. Silent Slayer, boy, allow us to select which slot the pet skill is applied to. I'm going to go with a yes on this one. I mean, this seems pretty standard based on a lot of the feedback we've been hearing. 4 new pets, 2 foxes, 2 wolves. I'm going to abstain for a moment. Since clearly the devs love RNG so much, why not make the pet system more like dragons from Art of Conquest? All pets have 8 automatically filled skill slots, and you can randomly replace them with bot skills. Still RNG, but at least pets are somewhat useful. I mean, I guess, yeah, right? I mean, I think there's... it's not a bad idea. I just think there's other ideas that might be more... I don't want to say worth, but it might be good to try them first. Let's say it like that. Wizard Tents should give you 60 minutes boost instead of 10 minutes, just so us free-to-plays could get a bit of an edge against wins. Yeah. I understand. Lorp, increase the arrow drop rate. It's abysmal and has been complained about for months now with no cannon response. You can't even farm it efficiently, and even low spenders are going to have to dish out. So I'm actually 100% with this. I'm 100% with this. So this is actually something I'm really on board for because I'm struggling myself on this one when it comes to arrows for upgrading your watchtowers. Because when you get to level 25, you have to upgrade that before you can eventually upgrade your academy to level 25. So, right, and I'd love to get that last scholarship tech, right? I'd love to get the last research boost, speed increase from level 25 academy, but yeah, it's not happening. So, and again, I'm sure that's just one of the reasons, but yes, the fact that they do not drop that often, I am 100% on board with this because I've already having to be spending gems as a low spend myself, right, for just kind of daily and then the monthly packs. This is something that I am all for. Love this suggestion. Rizahawk, where am I at? 28. Okay, we got 1 or 2 more we're trying to get through. 4 talent resets for 20 plus heroes we already leveled. Why not just add the feature to turn off the... Oh, yeah, we already talked about that one. Able to exchange 3 legendary artifacts for 1. We already talked about that in the previous one. There's not enough real fighting opportunities due to alliance considerations. So players organize friendly fights all the time, which is just not fun. Instead of just adding a mode similar to Roots of War, but on demand, and players can organize 2 groups to fight. So this is something that I've thought about as well, and I think there's some merit here, but we'll just have to kind of be thought about a little bit more. Increase alliance road, increase road limit is really what they're saying here. This is something that they've talked about since the beginning. My thing is I kind of like the way that the road limit is because it just doesn't allow for an alliance to extend throughout the entirety of the map. If, like, let's say they just wanted to take everything, burn everyone. So I like that it's a little bit more of kind of hard capped in that way. However, would I be okay with them increasing it, 500 kilometers more or, whatever I'm forgetting what the actual measurement they use in game, or something slight, like maybe 250, 300, 500. I could maybe see that, but I would just like for this to be a little bit more specific on the suggestion. Change map icons. When zoomed out of war pets from the generic war pet icon to pet type specific one, zoom out, find level 25 pet, zoom in to see what it is. Oh, venomous lizard, what a waste to spawn. I actually like this. Change map icons. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Fix your game, listen to players, not profits. Well, I guess it is specific enough. Change how things, let's go to Ash mode, and change how things reset season on season. Instead of needing to re-level up both heroes and artifacts, I think we should only need to level up heroes, otherwise it's just too grindy. If you're worried about power creep, then you can link the level of artifact to the hero level. Smile on how. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. Like, my view on this is I'd love to hear what a level 25 is going through. So if you're Castle 25 and you're close to max T4 or you're T5, I'd love to know how long does it take for you to max out, to get 10 max heroes and then 10 max, and we're just talking XP level artifacts. 5 EXP level artifacts. I'd love to know how long it takes for you to do that. If you're already at that max level, because that would really be the tell, right? Which is once you're at max level, how long is it taking? Are you able to do it before level 1 passes open if you have enough CP and you're going out and attacking enough? Are you able to do it before level 2 passes open in a new season, right? To where you can kind of get it that much faster? That's what I'd be curious to know. All right, we're at 3103. We've gone through, I don't even know how many suggestions. This is pretty fun. I love doing these and just kind of seeing what the gauge is for what people are. Because the great thing about suggestions is that when you read through these, you really kind of get a gauge of what the current landscape is and what are people's current challenges, problems, or issues that they have, would like to see added or changed. So I love doing this, and hope you guys enjoyed me walking through this as well and kind of giving you some of my thoughts and voting on some along the way. That's going to do it for us. Again, let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.